Bringing back up to 5 photons from your graveyard seems really good until you realize their effects are negated, but that's not even the worst part.
Are you serious?
Yes, I couldn't believe this shit either. The worst part is that you can only target photons. Now, sure, you can bring back Galaxy Eyes, Photon, Orbital, Vanisher, and Thrasher if they were properly summoned, and by their effects being negated, you can attack with Thrasher if you control another monster, and Vanisher to turn it with special summon, but Orbital doesn't benefit whatsoever, although you can use this link material for Soul Flirt, add it back to your hand, and equip it. That's not the point. The point is, there's a smaller number of playable photons than Galaxies, so why can you only bring back photons with Eternal Bond? It's something I don't understand. It's fucking, you already know what's coming.
Retarded!
Yes, you can attack with them, and yes, you can use them as material for things, but I don't give a fuck about that because you can only target photons. Now to the second effect, your opponent has to control a photon, which could be Photon Lord. That's a pretty good generic rank 8, but Titanic Galaxies played more, yet isn't a photon. Why the fuck does this only target photons? But let's assume your opponent controls a photon. You can steal it permanently. Its attack becomes the combined attack of all photons you control for the rest of the turn. But to be fair, Galaxy Eyes, Thrasher, and Vanisher are pretty damn big, so as long as you control at least one of them, the stolen photon, which has attack on its own, will be 2021 or 3 stacks bigger, which isn't big, but it's big enough, like my dick. But you can't attack with any other monster. If your opponent controls a photon, then sure, fuck them up with this. If they control a photon, but at least the first effect works with the second, and at worst, it protects your life points, boy. I still wouldn't play it though. And with that being said, thanks for watching. Patreon, Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal's in the description, and so is my Discord server link.
What's the question?
Have you ever been picked as a special guest for any Konami events? No, at least to my recollection. And if I did, I probably wouldn't go anyway, because that requires money that I'm not willing to spend, and being around people. Fuck people. Are you thinking of retalking and explaining older cards you never had the chance to make just because the whole community didn't exist by then? My reasons behind not talking about those particular cards, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but those particular cards weren't talked about not because of that reason that you're implying. And I didn't realize this shit right here was a community, but I guess if it's a community to you, then who am I to say otherwise? As far as your actual question though, if you can give me a list of cards that I haven't talked about in the past or mentioned in a video, because I tend to do that sometimes, then I don't see why not. I dislike how people can't make their own decks anymore. Just a copy and paste the deck profiles from YouTube. Can someone make it with the rogue deck, or do you need to follow the meta? There are more than enough examples. Maybe you haven't seen them, but there is enough examples of rogue doing well against the meta. So no, you don't have to do it, but it's easier because it's already been established, as opposed to a rogue deck. You got to do a little more work and optimization and all that shit. Not everybody's willing to do that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. From all the videos that you made since the beginning of your channel, which one did you think made the difference for your channel to get a lot of subscribers at this point? Guess the only video I can think of that might fit that criteria is the video I did on Zark, because I'm strong.
What else?
There was a point where you had started censoring yourself in videos. What made you return to uncensored videos? Kinda sorta had to do with YouTube, because it seemed like for like a year or so, if I did too much cursing, the monetization symbol is green when your video is monetized. When it's yellow, it's debatable. There's a screening process. I would get that yellow instead of the green, so I dialed it back a bit. Now, apparently, nowadays, that ain't the case anymore, which is pretty much why I stopped censoring myself, and I am so glad. What would you recommend as a general starting deck for people getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh? I wouldn't advise you to get any fucking deck. I would advise you to be a student of the game. Learn shit. Not necessarily from me, but there's other motherfuckers on YouTube that teach motherfuckers how to play and whatever. So you should, in my opinion, you should learn the game first. Then you can make a decision in terms of what decks to buy. But I can't give you one particular deck to get. I know you frequently use stand-up clips and you got great comedic timing. Well, thank you. How did you get exposed to stand-up? I think it was maybe my father watching a stand-up thing. Maybe not. I don't know. But the first stand-up I remember watching is Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker. That might not have been the first comedy special I've seen, but that's the one I remember. I have considered trying it myself. I answered this question kind of sort of recently, but just to make it short, I thought about it, but I realized I can just be a comedian doing these videos. And I have more creative control, so yeah. Hashtag what's the question? Appreciate ya.
And a lot.